I'm here with Richmond Mayor LeVar Stoney, the youngest mayor in the city's history. Thanks for joining us, LeVar.
Thanks, John.
So, to start off, you talked about cleaning up City Hall, and you just hired some VCU staff to help clean up. So, why did you hire a former program coordinator who embezzled $240,000 as an executive assistant on your staff?
Well, you know, I did ask for a performance review from VCU's performance management group, along with some executives from all across our private sector, looking at, taking an unsparing view of City Hall, finding what programs work, what programs don't work. If we've been running the same program for 25 years and are getting the same results or no results at all, I want to see some changes there. And so this will be done in the first 100 days. The recommendations will be made at the 100 days, and we'll start implementing them. But to speak to the individual who was hired in my office who had a past felony on his record, when I was Secretary of the Commonwealth, I spoke daily about second chances and restorative justice. My father was a former offender who was given a second chance and a chance to vote. I believe in redemption. That is just who I am, and I just believe that people deserve second chances. And I'd rather be an individual who practices what they preach instead of an individual who just runs away from their principles. I've always stood by my principles, and I'm not going to change because I've taken the oath of office.
Okay. And you talk about second chances. So I'm just wondering, wouldn't maybe his second chance have been the 10-year prison proposal that he was supposed to do, but he later just ended up paying fines? Do you not believe that was a second chance?
Well, the Judge Gibney, and a number of individuals, whether they were Delegate Bourne or Delegate Bagby, all believe that this individual was someone who they could take on in their office. And Delegate Bagby did, and they recommended him to me, and so did Delegate Bourne. And I took them at their opinion, and I believe the guy's an upstanding guy, and that's why I asked him to join my team. Okay.
So recently you signed a directive to protect policies of inclusion in the city of Richmond. How will that be enforced?
Well, you know what? These are policies that were in place. I signed a mayoral directive maybe 2 weeks ago saying that Richmond is an inclusive, welcoming city, that no matter how you look, no matter what God you pray to, what language you may speak, or what your immigration status may be, you have a welcoming home right here in the city of Richmond. And these are policies that have always been a part of what makes Richmond great. Our police department never has asked anyone for their immigration status, and they will not under my tenure as mayor of the city. And so if an individual finds or encounters an unwelcoming posture from the city, I want you to report it to our Multicultural Affairs office, and we'll actually move on that on those incidents. But I have not heard anything reported recently. But if there are any, if you ever encounter any, please reach out to our Carla Ramos in our Multicultural Affairs office.
So then, I know this has been asked a lot. Are you saying that Richmond is a sanctuary city?
No, I never said use the word sanctuary. I said that Richmond's a welcoming and inclusive city. Our policies may look like those of some sanctuary cities, but here in Richmond, I don't control jails. I don't control the office of the sheriff's office. There's a duly elected individual there in Sheriff Woody, and he controls the interactions after our police officers may have made an arrest. But I will tell you this, we are open to anyone. And if a person wants to come here and make a life for themselves and be prosperous and contribute to a great community, then Richmond's the place for them.
And I noticed that your first official act as mayor, you officiated a wedding.
Yeah.
Could you tell me, were you sending a message with that act? And if so, what was the message?
Well, I wasn't trying to send a message at all. It was a couple of friends who asked whether or not I would officiate their wedding, and I said yes. It was the first wedding I've ever officiated. But I think some people read into the fact that there has never been a mayor of this city who's ever officiated a same-sex marriage. And I just believe that Richmond should be the hub for inclusiveness and for tolerance. And for me, it was just any regular day with some friends of mine. But for others, they may have seen a little bit more into it. And the message I hope they took from it was that Richmond will always be a place where no matter if you're who you love or who you worship, you have a place here in the city of Richmond.
And I realize you have no control over public schools whatsoever, Richmond Public Schools. But what would you like to work with them on to make Richmond Public Schools better?
Well, you know what we've been working on recently is what we call an education compact. When I ran for office, I said that I would work with the school board and the city council to create a shared agenda of goals and strategies in order to improve the quality of life of each and every child in the city, no matter what zip code they may live in. And what we have already in draft form right now that's available on the city's website, on my Facebook page, on my Twitter page, is a draft of an education compact where we meet the schools halfway on what they can do and what we can possibly do. And so people don't understand that, when a child goes to school, the time they're in school, that is all within the realm of RPS at Richmond Public Schools. But what can we do to complement what they are already doing? And so the Child's Day continues afterwards. And so what the compact does is focus on the whole child, the entirety of the child's life, from the time they're born, from 0 to 18. That's what we have to focus on, giving them after-school programs, access to arts and recreation, things of that nature. That's what City Hall can do.
Okay. And why did you find it important? I've noticed this throughout like Facebook and Twitter. Why did you find it important to visit every Richmond public school in your first year as mayor?
Well, I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, you haven't done it yet, but
by a matter
your
of
goal.
7 or so thus far.
Okay.
You know what? I just think that every single day people hear what's negative and what's awful about Richmond Public Schools, but they don't understand there are teachers and students who are waking up every single day trying to succeed and actually bring about their excellence through Richmond Public Schools. I want to highlight those who are making the grade, those who are succeeding despite the circumstances. I'd rather not have the Richmond Times-Dispatch or any person in the media drive the narrative that Richmond Public Schools is a place where a family can raise their children. And so I think me as mayor, recognizing the individuals, whether they're teachers or students who are giving their all, that's the job of the mayor.
Okay. And you mentioned helping out children, and in your address you stated that the city must address the 40% poverty rate with children. And I just want to know, how are you planning on lowering that number? And by what time do you think that number could be lowered? Well,
this is a generational thing. This is not something that just can happen overnight. I wish I could take my magic wand out and wave it all over the city of Richmond and ensure that poverty was ended all across our city. But it doesn't work that way. You're going to have to focus on, we wake up every single day with poverty being at the center of everything we do in City Hall. The Office of Community Wealth Building is working diligently towards a goal of raising 1,000 people out of poverty every single year. But this can't be a goal that's just only shared by one office. This has to be a goal that's shared by the entire City Hall, and particularly those who are working in the human services portfolio. So everything we do, from social services to juvenile justice services, has to feed into that same goal of raising 1,000 people out of poverty every single year. This takes a lot of work. But with education and public safety and things of that nature, we can actually surround our children with the best possible so they can actually succeed right here in Richmond city limits.
And like you said, poverty is high in Richmond and crime as well. So how do you work with Richmond Police to combat police shortages in Richmond?
I've made it my priority. I will be introducing a budget on March 6th, and in that budget, I think you'll see you've already hit on some of my priorities already. That's public education and public safety. And I think you'll see that police officers right now, they're at around 698, I believe, currently that are on the force. We got to get them up towards 750. I know we have a few that are in the academy right now, but I think we've lacked that sort of investment in the good years, and now we really need it in the tough years. The other day, someone I'll say it did break my heart to. I showed that the first scene of first murder scene as mayor, and the double murder suicide that happened up in Mosby Court, and I don't know whether or not we could have played a role in preventing something like that from happening, but what I do know is that the fact that firearms and guns are getting into communities where they should not be, and I just think the proliferation of such firearms has been stunning. I mean, you look at the region's deaths, murder rate from last year, the entire region, 83% were because of a gun. So my request is we're going to do everything we can with putting more police officers on the street, but we need the state government also to do their part to keep the guns out of people who don't deserve to have them at the end of the day.
Okay. And I'm going to say, this is my last question. It's probably the hardest one you're going to answer.
Okay.
So you told me you are a Transformers fan. I was wondering, are you for Autobots or Decepticons?
I've always been pro Autobot.
And what is your favorite Autobot?
Optimus Prime.
Optimus Prime, why is that?
Because he's a leader. He's a leader. He's a leader of the Autobots, but I was going to say he's a leader of people. But when I was a kid, I cried many, many tears when I watched Transformer the movie, the real original Transformer the movie, when Optimus Prime died, and I think a lot of kids, particularly me, shed a tear when he passed away. But that's my guy, Optimus Prime, always there to save the day.
Cool. Well, thank you again, Mr. Mayor. I'm John Hood, and I'm with Mayor LeVar Stoney. Back to you at the desk.